All right. Hello, everyone. So nice to see you today. Um, Today, we're going to talk about going further with Softr. My name is Jakub tutaj, which translates to Jacob here. So I'm here today with you and Patrick. He will gonna run a live demo for you, and I'm gonna tell you a little bit more about basics and key concepts of Softr. So let's start with what Softr is, and no screen is showing up. uh, can we get some help maybe? I've just hit space and nothing shows up here. I don't know. Oh yeah, a little bit of luck, but yeah. So Softr is a no-code platform, a kind of an app builder where you can build your application interfaces on top of your data that can be stored in different data sources. And what you can typically build inside of Softr are internal tools and client portals, but not only that, you can also try out your educational app or MVP for your business. So with Software, you are building like assembling different kinds of pieces together. It's very simple. It's like Lego blocks. Those pieces are, for example, templates. So when you have kind of an idea or a use case you'd like to start with building your application, there are dozens of templates you can pick up from, and the design is already there, so you don't need to spend much time in the beginning on figuring out how this should look like or what should I do, what should be the right header, and so on. This is already prepared for you to get started really easily, and you can pick up, as you can see here, there are tabs like you can pick up from internal tools, categories, client portals, marketplaces, whatnot. The other piece is like very core to building your dynamic application is data source. This is like kind of a food for your app. So you need to feed your application with the data you have that is personal to you and your business or your idea. So currently we support two data sources, Airtable, which is free to use for the start, and also Google Sheets are free to use for everyone. Um, Here, the next piece are blocks. Blocks are very important in building applications. So here we can see a page that has one block, like just as static information. This is an employee directory and an image. But you can then do is you can pick out additional layouts and keep adding blocks to your pages, and then connected to this data source of your choice. So here we see Airtable as a selected choice. Here we still see some default design and random people's faces. But once we connect it to our data source and define like what should be the heading, like what is the database field that responds that is respond that should be a heading, and what is the image that you should map it to. Once you do that, you can see your actual team in this example. So in really like few steps, you can bring in all the application together on the surface. Now, taking it further, like applications have typically multiple pages. So you don't only have one home page, but also maybe employee details or department details or any other logic behind how your application is built. So with Software, you can really easily define this navigation and also define like who can see specific pages, like if there are specific user groups that should see them or not, like administrators perhaps should see this set of pages and managers other set of pages and so on. The other important piece is actions. So you can actually define who can do what in your application. So you can tell that administrators can delete all the information and add and modify. Managers, maybe they can only add or modify information, and viewers can only see that information after they sign in, for example. That's very simple. On this page, we see adding a new employee. So that's all of the pieces you can start with, and really in minutes you can build your first app. So again, templates, data sources, blocks, pages, and actions. There's also one new small announcement I wanted to make for everyone. Like, we are bringing new data sources to Software soon. We are bringing HubSpot, which opens up like gazillions of use cases for people using being in sales, service, um, and marketing. So we are actually letting you build on top of HubSpot data client portals, internal tools, custom interfaces that are very simplified for sales teams, for example, that are out in the field and they could use mobile phone and just click a couple of buttons and get what they want instead of having all the interface of HubSpot. So many things will be enabled with this data source, and also our friends from Smart Suite are here, in the main area, so you can visit them as well. We are bringing them as data source as well. So with their offering, they have like more than 200 templates for different use cases. They are kind of a work management tool where you can plan your work and track it, automate it with different workflows. With us together, you can build interfaces on top of that. So this is like coming very soon. And now I wanted to hand it to Patrick for a live demo.
Thank you, Kuba. Yeah, happy to be here. I did want to do just a kind of a brief live demo. Is everyone having a good time so far? Yes? For the most part? Oh my gosh, y'all, yeah. Like, yes. Which that's how I felt flying in from the States after 8-hour flight. But my guess is that the majority of you are from here, so like hopefully everyone's excited to be here. But yes, so I'm going to do just a very brief demo real quick. I'll show you our Smart Suite integration, or the start of our Smart Suite integration soon. But the really powerful thing, as Kuba mentioned, is that you can use Softr as the front end for lots of data sources. By far our most popular one, if you came by the No Code Games booth about 30 minutes ago, you would have seen tons of really awesome makers building some awesome stuff down there. So one of our primary data sources that is widely used right now is Airtable, but we also have Google Sheets currently as well. And like Kuba said, we have HubSpot and Smart Suite coming, but I'm going to demo Airtable for you today. And so what I've got here is I've got just a project management base set up. So I've got some people in here. They have all types of different roles. They've got a photo. Some of them don't have photos. Some of them have a department. Some of them don't. I've got a table of projects here. So each project has a client that it's assigned to, a project owner. If you've ever used Airtable, this is going to look very familiar. So this is, very typical kind of Airtable base here. And the powerful part about Softr is that we can connect to this directly. So if I go to my workspace settings down here, and I go to, looks like, yes. If I go to my data sources here, this is weird looking at the big screen. You can see that I've got several different data sources here. We just integrated Airtable OAuth as well, so you don't need API keys or anything like that. I've got a true no-code kind of connection point there with Airtable, which is nice because of their Airtable OAuth. So I've already got a data connection here, but you could certainly connect another data source if you wanted to. And then if I go back, like Kuba said, I've got plenty of templates here to choose from, but I'm just going to open up a blank application here. And by default, we kind of enable a variety of different pages that you may want to create in your application. And so we've got a list detail, we've got a form, we've got a sign-up page, sign-in page, reset forgot password, user profile, all sorts of good stuff here. You can deselect any of those that you don't need, but just for the sake of demo, I'm going to choose all of them. We'll just create an application with that. And by default, we have some blocks added to this page. And blocks are exactly what they sound like. They're just building blocks for your application. And they're in an inline fashion down the screen here. But the nice thing is that there are static blocks and dynamic blocks. Static blocks are ones that, as the name implies, they don't change. You can edit them, you can set defined properties for those blocks, right? The heading, the subtitle, the button, the image, all of those things are there, they don't change. And we have a number of different types of blocks that you can add. So I can add new blocks to this home page, either using this plus sign up in the top right, or I can just add it directly in between two different blocks. But let's say that I wanted to add another, let's see, maybe I wanted to add like another feature page here or something. If I go over to my static tab here, I've got lots of different ones that I can choose from. I've got call to actions, I've got pricing blocks that connect directly with Stripe. So you don't have to do any heavy lifting on the Stripe side of things. I've got team views and testimonials and logos and all sorts of good things there. So the possibility for static blocks is really endless. You can adapt these, change these to however you want them to look like. If I want this to be a different image, I could change that. I can even add additional team members to this, right? If I've got a team member there, I've got a team member there. Maybe I want to change, the styling of this text. I can certainly do that. And so this is all, you can do this on any block that exists, right? And different blocks have different styling options that you can use. But it's super easy. I don't have to know, paddings or margins or anything like that. All of that stuff is figured out for you. And the brilliant part about this is that it works on tablet and mobile, and you can even download a PWA version of it to your phone. So you don't have to worry about responsiveness and containers and all that sort of stuff. All of these they just work right out of the box, which is nice. So that's kind of the blocks structure of how Softr operates. And then if you look over here on the left, just quickly going through these tabs, we've got pages, which is exactly what it sounds like. Right here are all of our pages here. So I've got a list page, and I'll go through how to connect this in just a second. So we can access our pages there on the left. We've got our theme here where we can set the typography. We integrate directly with Google Fonts. So any font that's on Google, you can use it in your Softr app. You can control the weights of headings and the body font, even the rounding and the colorings of buttons that are used throughout your app as well. And also control like website width and things like that. We've got a user tab here, which I'll explain a little bit more about in a second, so I'll skip over that for now. And then we've also got just some general settings, like publishing to a custom domain, connecting other data sources. We've got a slew of really awesome integrations as well that are native to Softr, so you don't have to do any sort of like iframing or embedding JavaScript or anything like that, although that is something that you can do. We have a code embed block where you can just dump code straight into the block of a website, and you can also dump code directly into the header or footer of either the entire site or blocks them or pages themselves. So if you need custom code, if that's still something that you want to be able to, if there's not an integration listed here that you'd like to use, you can always embed it. And we have lots of people that do that sort of stuff. So lots of good stuff here. Google sign-in, Stripe checkout, Clarity, OpenAI. We have some artificial intelligence blocks as well. So good integrations there. And then some other things like settings for your mobile app, like the icon, SEO. Softr is wonderful for SEO, setting meta descriptions and tagging and excluding robots and 404 pages and all that sort of stuff is possible there. And then, like I said, custom code as well, if that's something that you like to do. And then also just some other things for SAML configuration. We offer SSO sign-in for like companies and things like that. And then also app history. So if there's you make a change and you want to revert back to a previous version, you can certainly do that as well. All right, so let me get back to our home page here. So let's say that I am creating this project management tracker, and I have all of these different different people types, right? I have employees, clients, managers, but they don't all need to see the same thing. So not only can I show projects in a Softr app, I can also control who sees that project, what they can do with that project, and even the tasks that are associated with that project. And in this case, even task comments that are associated with tasks. So you can see that really the scalability there is pretty limitless as far as how many different things you display, what you're displaying. There's all sorts of things that you can do there with that. So let me go over to the list page and I'll just kind of show you how this works. So let's say that on this list page, instead of showing people here, maybe I want to display the list of projects that I have. So because I've already connected our data source, I'm just going to click on my data source here. I'll pull in this, I think it's called, I have too many of these in here, Project Management by Softr. I'll select which table I want to display that data from, which I'm wanting to display my projects table. And I can assign a view if I need to. So I think I've just got one view. I've just got this grid view here, but you can assign a view to that as well if you like. And then I've also got some conditional filters here as well. So if I need to pare this down even further, I don't have to rely on Airtable to do that. I can do that actually on the front end of Softr, which is really nice. And then how I would, edit this content. Maybe let's say I don't want to display it as a card, or maybe I do want to display it as a card, but my cards don't really have an image. So either I could add an image, or I can just go down here into the item fields and I can just hide that. And maybe instead of, this is assigned as the project name, which is fine, but maybe I don't want the label to show. I'm just going to take out the label a little bit. And maybe I want the text to be a little bit bigger. We'll just make this text a little bit bigger. I could change the coloring, all that sort of stuff. And you'll notice that we do have padding options, but you don't have to get bogged down in pixel widths and all that sort of stuff, right? So there's lots of customizability still there, but you don't get bogged down in the details. The text here, maybe this is just the description of the project, and maybe for the update, maybe I don't need an update button. Maybe instead of the button being an update, maybe I want the button to be like view project details or something. So what I can do is I can go in here, view project details. All right. And what I can do is I'll just change this action. We have a ton of different actions that can be put on buttons. So I can open a details page, which is a page in my Softr app where I can see more information about that particular project. I can scroll to another block that's on the page or even on another page, open URLs, or I can edit, update, or delete this current project. So whichever project I'm clicking on, it would edit, update, or delete that particular project. And we can add multiple buttons per item as well. But for now, I just want to open up a details page. And yeah, so maybe this says view project. All right, and maybe only, well, we'll cover that in a minute. We've also got some filtering as well. So when you go to actually display your content, you'll notice that under all categories, it's actually this first one, and currently Softr has automatically detected that I want to sort it by status. So I've got complete, in progress, and to do, but I could also add other filters here as well, like you see the categories over here on the left. Currently it's set to people, but maybe I would want to use something like department or something along those lines. I don't think I really need that for now, so I'll just delete that filter. And if I don't need a search bar, maybe I'll just delete that. So there's lots of flexibility that you can do with that. And if I need to change the styling of the cards and the background, all of that stuff is perfectly doable there as well. So when I click on this View Project button, what I'd like for it to do is take me to a page where I can view that project's details. So what I'm going to do is where it says Open Details Page, I'm going to create a details page for this project. And I'll just choose this one here. It'll create the page for me and send me to the page so that I can start editing the list details. Internet might be a little bit slow. There we go. So this is where I can view the specific details of the project that I selected. So it's going to recognize the record that I picked, the project that I picked, send that information to this page, and from here I can do the exact same thing. So you don't have to relearn how to set up the content for it or anything like that. It works exactly the same as the list block. So if I wanted to, again, my project doesn't have an image, so maybe I would hide this. Maybe the heading. Or actually, let me connect this source. Yeah, got it there. The heading is, it should probably be the project name. Maybe this text is the description of the project. The tag, maybe this is the status. Right? Maybe I don't need this rich text, or maybe it's just something else. And then I can also add additional fields. So if I need a divider, or if I need more rich text, or an email field, or a tag, we even have embeds as well. So if you have like projects that have code attached to them, you can embed that code in the list block. Google Maps, ratings, dividers, checkbox, even PDFs and PDF previews. You can embed all sorts of really cool stuff into these list detail blocks. But let's say that I wanted to display the tasks that are associated with this project. I can do the exact same thing. I would just add another list here. Maybe I would use this one instead. And maybe this list block is tied to my tasks table instead of my projects table. So maybe this one, we'll just select our data source again. Yes, the Wi-Fi is struggly. There we go. There's our project management. There's our tasks table. So I've got the tasks table connected, and then over here in content, again, if I want to maybe delete this, maybe hide the image. Wi-Fi is being a little slow to update, but you can see how this is, it's all very, not only easy to set up, but I don't have to redo a lot of stuff to add very powerful functionality. For instance, maybe I need this list, but I need the styling of it on a different page. I can copy this block across pages and even across apps even. For instance, if I have two apps that are companion apps, right? Like I have a client app and an employee app. For whatever reason, I wanted to divide them out. I can copy all of that stuff between apps as well. This is being quite slow here. For some reason, maybe try to reload this page real quick. But what we'll look at lastly is just the user permissioning, because this is one of the most powerful parts of Softr, in my opinion, is just that you can set up user roles and then use those user roles to define the visibility of blocks, buttons, pages. So you can control what a person sees based on their user role in your application here. So one of the cool things about Softr as well is that it'll attempt to auto map any fields that you have to the template of the block. Most of the time I change them, but a lot of people just like to leave it alone. So in this content here, let's just set this. We'll again hide that image. It already picked up the task name and the status of that task. So yeah, we've got our task there. I could add a description if I wanted to. But again, kind of the powerful thing about this is in our source, what I can do is I can filter this list of tasks to only show the ones that that belong to this particular project. So under this conditional filters here, I can add a condition and say, hey, only show me the ones where the project is. And then if I select this drop down here, you'll see projects. This is the project that I selected. So this will be the project's project name, right? Because that's what we've got here. So if I go to my tasks, you can see that the project, I have this project column here. You can see that I've got this particular task called review all backlinks belongs to this project and this project. And so I can use that to filter this list of tasks to only show the tasks that belong to this project. But what if maybe, I only want to, going back to our list page, what if I only want to allow managers to create projects, right? I don't want my client to create a project. I don't want my employee to be able to create a project. Only managers should be able to do that. And this is where users come in. So what I'll do is I'll set up a user data source here. And I'm going to use this same connection. We'll use our project management by Softr base again. And then this time we're going to set this to people because I want to create, this is a portal for my clients, my employees, and my managers. It's all going to be in one app, but I'm going to control what each person sees based on who they are. So I'll just set, there's only one required field here, and that's just the email that they're going to use to log in with. And I'll hit save and sync. Obviously, I could add an avatar, their first name, the last time they were logged in, all that sort of stuff. So you can see that right here, I've got all of my users. I've got one user that's duplicated in the base, but you can see that I've got all my users here. And now I can create user groups from that. So I'll click on user groups. We'll add one here, and maybe this one is managers. And I'll add a filter here saying, hey, a person is a manager if their role, I have a field called role, and that comes directly from here. So in my people, you can see I've got this role column here. So if their role is manager, I'm just literally going to type it in here. So if the logged in user's role is manager, they're a part of the managers group. And same thing with employees and clients. So if the logged in user's role is client. So we've got two user groups now. Obviously, I could add the employee one, but for the sake of time, we'll skip that one. Now back on my list page here, let's say that I only want to show this button to managers, right? Only managers should be able to add projects. So in my actions section here, I've got top bar buttons and then those item buttons that we added just a second ago. So on this add record, obviously I'd want to say like maybe something like add project here. I can control the visibility of this button by saying only the logged in users should see this button, and even define which logged in users should see it. So in this case, the managers are the only ones who should see the add project button. And this applies to blocks as well as actions. So if I just go back, I've got this this list block selected. I can go to the visibility tab and I can control, kind of the exact same logic there. Who can see it? What group should they be a part of? And then we've also got device visibility as well. So if this block, maybe for whatever reason, this block doesn't look good on mobile or whatever, or I want something to show differently on mobile than it does on desktop, I can disable which blocks are visible on mobile. All blocks are mobile responsive automatically, but if for whatever reason you're like, you know what, I want to display, hey, download our app on iOS, right, or whatever. I can display, an app download block on only to the mobile users, right, or only to the desktop users, not to mobile. So there's lots of flexibility that you can do there as well. All right, let me very quickly show you the Smart Suite integration as well. So this is not released yet, but it's coming very soon. I will go like I'm going to add just any other data source like I would, Airtable or anything else. You can see I've already got one added here. I'll just delete this so we can show you again. So I would just hit Connect Data Source here. You can see we've got HubSpot there, which is in beta, and then also Smart Suite. And I was already logged into Smart Suite, so it just kind of picked it up, which is nice. As long as you're logged into Smart Suite in a browser, it's gonna make the connection there. And then from there, as long as I've got that set up, it works pretty much exactly the same way. So nothing really changes. I can go in here and create a blank application. I can connect the data source. I can change the content of that particular list block, all that good stuff. And so in this case, if I go to my pages here, I'll go to my list block again. And just for the sake of time, we'll go to, let me just update this. Oops, actually I need to add a new block, sorry. Let's add a new block here. This works better for project management rather than cards anyway, probably. So there's my data source. We'll select my project requests as a solution. There's my project proposals. And kind of the same thing here. So exact same thing. In my text here, I've got the ability to select looks like it's loading here. I'll be able to select there we go. All of the things that are part of that particular data source that I've selected. So in this case, in my Smart Suite, I've got things for auto number. I think I've got the project name, project name. And so I can assign all the same things exactly like I would in Airtable. And then HubSpot will work pretty much the same way as well. So again, Smart Suite not available yet, but it is coming soon. And we're super excited about that as well. So thank you. Any questions? Mm-hmm. Oh, actually, hold on. Do I need to get? Oh, she's got the microphone.
You told about a Stripe button. You can do e-commerce on Softr?
Yes, you can. So we have, and I can show you those blocks in more detail if you like. So the Stripe, we have something here called payment blocks. And so there's a couple of different ways you can do one-time purchase products, and you can also do subscription products as well. So this is something that we see a lot of people subscribing to communities, people subscribing to, some people even build SaaS products on top of Softr. And so, yeah, you can build like a checkout cart, right, where you're adding items to your cart. Most people typically use like Stripe checkout links to do that sort of thing because it's a dynamic amount that changes. But our Stripe checkout blocks definitely handle one-time purchases and subscription stuff. And then of course, like if you use some other payment provider, you can embed that directly into the embed block as well. Or if you have like I think PayPal has, links, payment links and things like that you can create now as well. So all that sort of stuff works. But yeah.
Okay, thank you. I have another question about the price because I'm not aware about when you can. Sorry for my English.
Oh no, you're fine.
When you can give visibility only for managers, is it possible with a free plan or
Yeah.
where is the price, please?
Yeah, it's a good question. So you can create user groups on all plans, but you can only apply visibility on the granular portions of the buttons, I think is on business plan, but anything other than that, so visibility on blocks, pages, those types of things, you can control that on all plans, all paid plans. So yeah, hopefully does that answer your question?
Yes, a bit. Thank
Okay.
you.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question about the login process. So, you were showing you can have a table of users. And so I'm wondering, what does it look like if someone is logging into your Softr site? Is it like an email verification code? Does Softr handle password storage? What does that look like?
Yes. So the way that works is you don't get to see any passwords, as it should be, right? But the user data is stored in Airtable. So that people's base that I had, you can see that I've got their first and their last name. I've got their email address. There's nothing about a password. So what Softr does is we look at that base and we say, awesome, you've got some users here already. We'll import those. They're stored on the Softr side. And then we have something called two-way sync that keeps those two sources connected, or it keeps them synced together. So Softr manages all the passwords and logins. And then to answer your question about how they log in, we have a variety of different methods actually for how you would do that. So in the user accounts here, we do have sign in with Google as well, so you can use that. You can set that up. SSO, we have OpenID and SAML-based authentication. We've got just standard email and password, if that's something that you want to use. And then we've also got sign-in with codes by email and by SMS. So if you want to give your user, let them put in their phone number, they can be sent an SMS and they can log in with that. And then we've also got forgot password and reset password blocks as well to handle, people who need to change it or they forgot it or they lost it. And the other nice thing about Softr that I forgot to mention, let me go back over here to this one, is that we have something called a magic link. And this is a link that you can send to anyone. Yeah, I'm sure that a lot of you have probably used these before. But if I create one, I can copy this link, send it to the user or anyone for that matter. They can click on it and it will log that person in as that user. And it's really good for like people who just need to log in once, or you need to provide shared access in some way. And so magic links are really, really good for that.
Okay, so it sounds like Softr can act as the identity service provider, or you can connect your own identity service.
Yes. So Softr does act as the identity provider, but we do have, like I said, SAML and OpenID, and then Google Sign-In as well. So those are kind of we're looking to add more in the future, but for now we've found that most people are pretty satisfied with those kind of options.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hi, thanks, Patrick. I thought it was a great demo. I just had some questions around performance and what the limitations are, sort of integrating the data sources in terms of how many rows and how it sort of scales up, particularly as you said with the two-way syncing. I know that sometimes can be a bit of a challenge if we're going into sort of tens of thousands of rows.
Yeah.
Do you have some insights on that?
Yeah, for sure. So for scalability, and this is a question that I get asked a lot. I mean, I'm like, I talk to people on calls a lot, and this is probably one of the biggest things that comes up. And it's a valid question, right? Because we use Airtable's API, we use all of our data sources APIs to pull in this information, and so a lot of it is going to determine upon their, how fast is their API, how fast are we able to paginate those results from the API, all those sorts of things. And so using Airtable as an example, they've introduced Airtable API limits. So in that sense, you are limited in terms of how much you can pull in and how often you can pull it in. But for like Google Sheets, it's a little bit more expanded, right? They don't have quite as like maybe hard of a cap on that sort of thing. And so it kind of varies with the data source. That said, we do have, on different plans, we do have the number of records that you can pull in per dynamic block. So on the list block that you saw, on I think it's like a 50,000 records, which used to be all that an Airtable base would hold. Yeah. And so most people don't find that they run into an issue with that, just because you can paginate the results. You don't need to load 50,000 all at once. You can load them, in batches of 50 or 100 or whatever. And so typically scalability in that sense is not a super big deal. Usually it's when people run into issues when they're trying to like load in large images as a part of a list or something like that, something along those lines. And then there was something else that you mentioned. User, I think that was it. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think it does. Just in terms of sort of search filtering and performance on that side. So say we've got 50,000 rows and the data and running a search on that. Is there any limitation there again with the API calls or,
Again, it kind of varies by data source, but like for Airtable, for example, because we use their API directly, that query, that filter by formula parameter that's sent to Airtable, we use all of those same query parameters to pull that information. So anytime you perform a search or you're pulling in the schema of your base, we're using those parameters to pull that information in. So like for example, if you have I think on one of Airtable's their Pro plan, I think you have like 100,000 API calls per month. So anytime you read a list of data, or you create data, or you update, any of those CRUD actions, you're basically making an API call to Airtable. And different people have different needs. Some people don't like that. Some people are, they don't even come close to hitting 100,000 API calls a month. And so a lot of it just that's one of the reasons why we're focused on implementing more and more data sources, is just so that with more, people have options as far as where they want to host their data. So
I was just going to ask, just lastly, do you have any other data sources on your roadmap sort of that you can integrate?
So I think you'd probably be a better.
What are you looking for?
Well, I guess there's two. Firstly, whether you would ever plan to do a sort of more traditional sort of Postgres SQL sort of more traditional database integration.
Yeah, so
and then maybe something like Bubble as well.
Yeah, so like traditional databases are definitely on our radar. Like it's just an order in which we bring new data sources. For now, we are bringing one CRM like data source as HubSpot, and and an alternative to an Airtable like data source, which is SmartSuite. And now the next in the lines will be more traditional databases, I think, as well as a real true REST API kind of connection. So if you're lacking some kind of a data source, at least you can run API calls yourself.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
What's the next
question?
question?
Just stay up here. Any other questions? Yeah.
Thank you. So it's a very specific question for a very specific use case, so it might not be interesting for everyone. Regarding the search bar functionality right now, this is something I've encountered. Software is not, or a table is not handling like misspelling or the way you are fetching data, for example, very specific use case. Like on Bubble, you have plugins where you say, okay, you have a certain sensitivity to misspelling, whatever. And nowadays, I couldn't find a solution for Softr regarding this topic. For example, you are looking for someone in your database, one employee. Victoria, if you misspell Victoria, you won't have any solution to. You need to put exactly the right data to find it.
Yeah.
Some-
Yeah, yeah, that is definitely true. And that's actually something I've heard I mean, it's not just you that's experiencing that. So that is something that we want to do. I'm not sure, like,
Yeah, there's no like specific plan yet, but there is a signal, like future signals and feedback coming from our customers around this. So yeah, so this is sorry, yeah, so this is something on our radar. But yeah, yeah. So thanks. So can you expand on flexible search? I will just give you a mic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just wanted to agree with him about
Yeah.
the fuzzy search. And then also, like, let's say that you have a bunch of, I don't know, like a bunch of inputs, and you have project management and, I don't know, like product development. If you put in like management and development, like it pulls up nothing because you have no parameter that exactly matches that. Whereas like you do have two things that could pull up.
Or
So
and so on, like
yeah.
some rules around search. All right. All right.
yeah, so just making more out of the search bar in general would be great.
yeah, I do know that we have, oh yeah. I do know, this is one of my, like, our, like, chief power users over here. Yeah, absolutely. And so one of the things that I know that is actually being developed is more conditional filters as well, where right now we've just got string filters basically, but the ability to have, like, contains, has any of, right, like is before or after, if you're working with dates, is greater than equal to, all those types of, like, more nuanced data type comparisons is actively being worked on for sure. So, anything else? Yeah.
Also from the super user team.
Right.
I just wanted to add to that about the filtering. So does that mean is it on the roadmap to have cascading filters?
Oh, I know what you mean. Like, if someone selected a filter and there's some logical dependency of the value to show another values in the filters, like this is in the group of work around conditional filters. I'm not now perfectly sure like what's the order of operations, but definitely this is like on top of our mind. Yeah, to bring it in. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank y'all for coming. And if you have any questions, we're downstairs, kind of like, well, not kind of, directly near the No Coder Games booth, or the square, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. Thank y'all.